By Beshalach Paro sends out the nation of Klal Yisrael. Finally, it's the culmination of everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been arranging and that Moshe Rabbeinu has been arguing for and that Bnei Yisrael have been hoping for. Bnei Yisrael are let out of Mitzrayim. But if you think about the pasuk a little bit more carefully, it actually comes off as a little bit strange. Why is the focus? And the truth is, this isn't the focus just in this pasuk, but it makes us reflect on much of what we've heard over the last few parshas. Why is the focus on Paro letting them out? Shouldn't the focus be on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on God taking Bnei Yisrael out of Mitzrayim? Why does it have to be by Him Beshalach Paro es Am? When Paro sends out the people, it sounds like Paro was the one who had the choice. Paro was the one who got to make the decision. And the truth is that really was reflected in much of what Moshe Rabbeinu was telling Paro along the way. Shalach es duni. Send them out and let them serve me. He was talking to Paro. He was reflecting back and forth and going to see what Paro was going to say, what Paro was going to do in reaction to the Makos. Why didn't Hashem just swoop down and take Klal Yisrael out of Mitzrayim? Why does it have to be? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu want it to be that it should be that Paro is the one who sent him out? Certainly, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could do whatever he chooses to do and did not need Paro to agree, and yet that is the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that God chose to have Bnei Yisrael leave Mitzrayim. It would seem to be that in the way of the world, this is based, something I saw in the Ben Melech with perhaps a little bit of expansion. Mintzberg explains that the way of the world is that when you want to make a kinyan, when you want to acquire something, so you act upon it. The way that a person becomes a slave is because somebody enslaves them, somebody puts them into shibud, somebody puts them into bondage and works them. And it's through that they become the slave of that person. And as long as they are still under the rule of that person, their status is that of a slave. And that's what happened with Klal Yisrael. Paro had the Jewish people there, and he slowly and progressively went through a process of transforming them from being their own people to being his slaves, talking to them nicely at first and getting them to work for him until the shibud, until the servitude was at its max, and Klal Yisrael were working so hard, building everything that Paro wanted. As such, they were the slaves of Paro. If Hashem had swooped in and taken Klal Yisrael out, then the way that would be perceived by both the nations of the world and by the Jewish people themselves would be that they are slaves of Paro who escaped servitude. They would be like that Eved, that slave that managed somehow to be able to escape and to go to freedom. But fundamentally, that relationship is still intact. And that is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to change. Hashem wanted to make sure that it was clear that Paro was sending them out, that Paro was ending that relationship, and that once they leave, they're no longer slaves of Paro. They are Avdei Hashem, they are servants of Hashem. They have a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the only way that could come is if Paro of his own volition decided, you are no longer my slaves. Was it his own volition in terms of that's what he wanted? No. His arm was twisted. HaKadosh Baruch Hu twisted his arm. But if he would have just simply taken them out, then the nations of the world would look and say, oh, this is those Jewish people. They're the slaves of Paro, the slaves of Egypt who managed to escape. No, we're not the slaves who managed to escape. We're the children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who no longer have any relationship with Paro. Our relationship is solely with Hashem. And that's why it was critical that it be Vayhi Beshalach Paro es Am, when Paro sent them out, because Paro was saying, they're not, go, do your thing, become the servants of Hashem. And with that, we can also understand that it says that Rashi in last week's Parsha, when it talks about Makas Bechoros, so Paro wanted to send them out. And Moshe says, no, they left Be'etzem Hayom Hazeh. Paro said, Kumu tzum mitoch ami, get out. Moshe says, the Medrash says, V'chi ganavim anachnu, we're like robbers who are going to sneak out in the middle of the night? No. Babuker under Yotzim. We're going out during the day. If we left at night, even with Paro's permission, then the perception would still be that we had to run away. And the goal that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted was that we should no longer be attached to Paro at all. And the way that would be done is that we left when Paro said we could leave, and we left in broad daylight for everybody to see that relationship is over. And then we become the servants of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And with that comes an opportunity that we are the representatives of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. And that has to impact, that has to influence how we act, how we think, and what we do. We know that there are those who are going to be looking at us, and we have the opportunities to be Mekadei Shem Shamayim, to sanctify God's name by acting as His children and not acting as Abdei Paro. That is Vayhi Beshalach Paro es Am. We are no longer the slaves of Paro at all, but rather we are fortunate to be the children and servants of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.